Welcome to another edition of Touring the AFC South. I'm your host, Mike Patton. And of course, the playoffs are about to end in the next round. There was some surprise that we expected to happen. And then there were some things that fall in between, like, of course, the losses that we didn't expect to be as bad. Of course, here to chat with me on the playoff picture and how it has changed is the former president of the National Association of Black Journalists. And he also works for the Boston Globe. Welcome to the show, Gregory Lee Jr. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. What's happening, Mike?
Man, just trying to stay warm down here in Nashville. It's like in the teens down.
Oh, it's about the teens here in Boston, so we're used to that here. So y'all not used to that stuff down there. So it's all good. It was 4 degrees. Felt like minus 10 degrees outside. I walked outside and got my newspaper. I'm like, I'm not staying out here long. Let me get back inside.
I hear you there. So, for those that don't know, can you tell everyone what you do with the Boston Globe, and maybe some background on all the things you have done?
Yeah. So now at the Boston Globe, I'm the senior assistant managing editor for talent and community. Basically, I'm a newsroom recruiter, and also help with our community initiatives and bring our journalism to the community. Have other initiatives, other things I do there. I'm the executive producer of our new radio show called Black News Hour, where we do a monthly show. We talk about different issues in the community in Boston. And this is after a long career in sports journalism. I've been in sports journalism for almost 30 years. Started off in New Orleans at the Times-Picayune, my hometown paper, then went on to the Washington Post, Boston Globe. And this is my second stint in Boston Globe. I was there before in the sports capacity, and running the section in South Florida, where we'll talk a little bit more about your quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Well, I used to cover Ryan Tannehill when he was the Miami Dolphins quarterback. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And been at NBA.com and The Athletic. So I've been in sports journalism, covered the Olympics, covered the NBA Finals, Super Bowls, playoffs, Major League Baseball playoffs, even hockey playoffs. So I've seen a lot in sports journalism, and looking forward to the conversation with you, Mike.
Man, hey, I appreciate it. So since you're up there in Boston, what's the temperature on the Patriots season from beginning to end this season up there?
Look, everyone expected to see after what the team did in free agency, the team spent a lot of money in free agency, and that wasn't what Belichick was not known for doing. And he did, and they, with the rookie quarterback, they thought he could bring him along, and they thought they could get a chance to get into the playoffs. They had a slow start during the season, but with a rookie quarterback, you're always going to have some growing pains. And Mac Jones, he grew over this season, but as you know, in certain situations, he's going to turn into a rookie quarterback. I think really the Patriots overachieved, so to speak, when you think about it. Because they did maximize the talent, but look, they beat beat the Jets twice, really bad. And that's two easy victories they got in the playoffs, and they beat the Jaguars pretty badly. So without those three victories, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. They beat the Bills. That was in that first game of the Bills, but that was a bad weather night, and they just ran over the Bills. And then after that, the Bills, in ideal situations, displayed their dominance over the Patriots, especially in the playoff game. But the Patriots, I think they still have a few pieces left to fill out this roster to help try to get Belichick back into the Super Bowl contention, but they have a ways to go. They need some outside playmakers. The running game is good. The line is solid. They got some aging pieces on defense. The defense is still solid, but there were still some weaknesses there. But the most important thing is the quarterback position, and Mac Jones needs to get more experience, but he will also need more explosive players. Kendrick Bourne was the leading receiver. He did fine. Jacoby Myers is okay and decent, but the wideouts were not really a threat. I mean, look at it from a larger view. So again, the Patriots had a good season. They made the playoffs. It's better than last year when it was a disaster in the first year without Tom Brady and dealing with COVID. So it was just it was a good bounce back year for Bill Belichick, I think, overall. That's the perspective that's here.
Gotcha. Well, there's a guy up there that I thought would be better this year, and that would be Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith didn't have a good season. He had to make some adjustments. I know he got benched. I remember he played against the game against the Saints. He had a pass come to him, and it bounced off of him. It was a pick, and it was a costly turnover. So he's very inconsistent this year. I think probably more of the system, different system he was in. And you got to also remember when he was at the Titans, you got to remember he was also like an extension of the running game, and they were beating you down with Derrick Henry. So when he got short passes, he turned into big plays because he was like a bigger running back. So it's a different system in New England where they don't have that big back like Derrick Henry who already puts enough in the heads of defenses. And then you got a big athletic tight end like Jonnu Smith rumbling down the seam while they got Derrick Henry look back there and the linebacker and safety is peeking in on Derrick Henry and not looking at Jonnu Smith. And I think that's why he was so effective with the Titans. He didn't have that benefit with the Patriots running backs. There were no real threats of the safeties or linebackers worrying about a running back of Derrick Henry's stature, so they could focus on keeping an extra step or a step on watching people like Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into, of course, the Titans and Derrick Henry as well. But I want to talk about a team that you follow. That would be the New Orleans Saints. The last game of the season. Win and they're in. Win and the 49ers lose and they're in. How are you feeling on that last day of the season, man?
Look, we know the Saints is going to beat the Falcons. We owed them a beating because we lost him early in the season. There was no excuse to lose in that game. The Saints shouldn't have been in that position. The Saints had opportunities early in the season to get them punch themselves in the playoffs. But look, when you have inconsistent quarterback play, you have 4 quarterbacks during the season. But it came out to the last game of the season, and you had to put the fate in someone else's hands. I thought everything looked good because the Rams were up 17-0 against the 49ers. And we thought that the Rams was going to end their 5-game losing streak to the 49ers, but everything looked good until the end, and Matt Stafford showed up. So that's what we said when you can't trust in Matt Stafford. So at the end of the day, if you depend on Matt Stafford trying to get you in the playoffs, you might as well just get ready to pack up for the season. If you're dependent on Matt Stafford, that's what happened. But we, Saints fans, it was a good season considering our first year without Drew Brees. When you lose your starting quarterback, Jameis Winston, you didn't have Michael Thomas. You didn't have 3 of your starting linemen for most of the year. You had that COVID game against the Dolphins. Or let's go back to the beginning of the season when they had to be evacuated and deal with the effects of the hurricane and evacuate and play their first game in Jacksonville. Being 9-8, going 9-8 through all of that turmoil. And for Sean Payton to keep that team together and focus, and had a lights out defense, as everyone saw when they shut out the Buccaneers 9-0. And it just, and I think also too, maybe the Rams didn't want the Saints in the playoffs. I don't think no team wanted to see the Saints defense in the playoffs because after what they did to Tom Brady, I don't think any team in the NFC wanted to see a defense. They wanted to see our offense because we had no offense. But they certainly didn't want to see Cam Jordan coming down on them. They certainly didn't want to see Demario Davis hunting you down. They certainly want to see Marshawn Lattimore and especially C.D. Deuce, slot corner, who gets in the heads of everybody. So no one wanted to see that, and I don't blame them. I think a lot of NFC teams are happy that the Saints aren't in the playoffs because the defense, they came and they will hit you and they will hunt you down and will give you a long night. And Tom Brady saw that in his own building.
He sure did. He sure did. The one thing, I did talk about the Saints, but, I didn't talk about the character that I love watching so much that you play.
Saint Hudat right here. Here he is.
Yeah, Saint Hudat.
There's my alter ego. Yeah, we do. Saint Hudat gets on pregame and postgame to give analysis for the Saints. And, Saint Hudat did predict for the season the Saints go 10-7, so we're close. So we could have gotten it. The ball, they blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against the Giants early in the season. No excuse for losing that game. They scored 24 points. They should have never lost that game. They'd be in the playoffs if they won that game. They would be in the playoffs if the defensive call wouldn't have they put the rookie cornerback Debo on Cordero Patterson late in the game against the Falcons, and they found him one-on-one. He just out-jumped him, and got the game-winning score for the Falcons. So those are two situations where the Saints could have controlled their own destiny and been in the playoffs. So the Saints have themselves to look at for not getting the playoffs, but at the same time, they had to overcome so much adversity that you can overlook those things.
Definitely, man. I look forward to next year seeing Saint who that even more. I mean,
the Saints should have beaten the Titans. We got that bad call in the end zone. That the penalties was terrible. Giving Tannehill another chance to score a touchdown, which they did. That was a horrendous call. And I like Ryan Tannehill. We'll get that later, but that was a horrendous call. And that was an opportunity for the Saints to win in Tennessee too. I think the Saints really had a shot to win that game if it wasn't for that setback.
I hear you. I understand. Now, of course, we have talked about the Saints. We've talked about the Patriots. But, of course, this is a show that's on the AFC South. So we got to come on down south. Now, we got to talk about the team that is representing the AFC South in the Tennessee Titans. What do you think? You know, you got Derrick Henry coming back, Titans, Bengals this weekend, a lot of energy in the building. I mean, what do you think of them bringing Derrick Henry back for the playoffs and that be his first action?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be real tough because, you know, the biggest asset for Derrick Henry is late in the game in the fourth quarter. And wearing, you know, he wears out defenses in the first and third quarters. But where's his stamina level going to be? That's the question. His foot's probably 100%, but where is his stamina level going to be? Because usually, you know, and this is my fantasy sports hat, usually before, like seasons before, early in the season, he will always start slow and build himself up, and he's like dominant in the last half of the season. This year, he started off fast and beat up on people, but usually in this part of the season where defenses are beat up, tired, this is where Derrick Henry's effectiveness really show out in terms of his power, his vision, and just his wearing down opponents. I'm just really interested to see what his conditioning is going to be like, you know, because it was a foot injury. Yes, he could do some conditioning in the swimming pool and all that stuff, and probably got on a bicycle and stuff like that. But you can't put too much pressure on a surgical repaired foot until it's 100%. So I don't know what the condition he's going to be in. I know he's been practicing the last 2 weeks, but he hasn't had game conditioning. So it'll be interesting to see how he works back in the offense. Of course, you got A.J. Brown and Julio Jones out there. Tannehill, but Tannehill is better with Derrick Henry on the field than not on the field. Let's put it that way. So any Derrick Henry is a good thing for Ryan Tannehill.
Right. This game, what do you think it comes down to with Tennessee and Cincinnati?
Look, the Bengals is coming in on a high. They're coming in with momentum. Look, they should have closed out the Raiders last week early in the game. They shouldn't have gotten down to the last part of the game. So they learned their lesson. They got through it. Hopefully, if for their benefit, they learn quickly. They could be a dangerous team for the Titans. I think, with Jamar Chase and they got three good receivers and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and an underrated tight end in Zuma. Burrow has a lot of moxie. He can manipulate the pocket. He can run when he has to. I watched Jamar and Burrow at LSU. I'm a New Orleans native, so I saw them in person in a couple of games, and that chemistry is real. And the Titans got to deal with that, and they got to be physical. They got the line's a little beat up for the Bengals. It's not strong, so the defensive line, Simmons has got to dominate for the Titans on the line to put some pressure and get into the face of Burrow. Don't let him step up. So it's gonna be critical for the Titans. The Titans defensive line has to dominate to contain the Bengals, which they're very capable of. And on the offensive side, the big question mark is how much does Derrick Henry have? I mean, yes, of course he's been rested, but in terms of the ability to go, can he get 30 touches and be effective? I mean, or will the Titans try to save him for the last half of the game? But then again, the defense won't be as tired because they had to deal with him the first half because they didn't use him as much. So I don't know what the Titans are going to do in terms of his so-called pitch count, if there's one for him, or trying to save him for a little tired defense in the fourth quarter. What's going to come down to, I think, the Titans defensive line really, they're going to have to really put some pressure on them because they're going to need the back end to handle those three receivers and the tight end. They're going to need to rush four.
Definitely. And one thing I heard actually in terms of the stats for the Bengals, when he blitzed Joe Burrow, he definitely is way more accurate than if you question with four
Oh,
and the type credit four. So that'll be
yeah,
something to watch.
yeah, because he is very accurate and on the run. He's very accustomed to that. Saw him do a lot of that in college. He improvises. He knows he's a very smart kid in terms of diagnosing plays before the play starts. So that's really uncanny for a young quarterback like him. And then it also helps to have the added bonus is that yes, he's a second year quarterback. The added bonus is that he has chemistry with a guy he's played football with for 4 years. And I don't care if it's college or pro. Just as long as you have chemistry with a receiver, that's the most critical thing. And what him and Jamar has is just this is their veteran. Like, I'm not saying they're Montana and Rice because they played for years, but in terms of just that connection on the field is just very critical to have for a young quarterback to have that as a security blanket.
Right. Now, as far as this game, if you had to pick one winner right now, who are you picking and why?
I'm picking the Bengals. Just because the offensive explosiveness, I think having a game. I'm just saying having a game last week helps. I think it built their confidence. I mean, this is their first playoff game. I see Tennessee boom, 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 taking the nerves out and stuff. And they were at home last week. They got that experience. Unless I see unless Derrick Henry's got to show it to me in the first half what he has, and that's gonna be critical. I mean, if Derrick Henry is the Derrick Henry we're used to seeing, then yeah, I can see the Titans holding the ball and running clock and having time possession. You have winning time possession. They got to win time possession because the more possessions you give Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, the more trouble it is for the Titans. So it's gonna be critical to see how the Titans offense readjust, and getting their main man back. So that's the biggest thing that I want to see how much he's going to get the ball and how much ball control the Titans will have. That's critical for Ryan Tannehill. And I think Ryan Tannehill, if they're going to be successful, he'll be more effective running the ball too. More. I mean, he wasn't as effective without him, but now he can do the read option more effectively, and he's going to have to get. I expect him to carry the ball at least 8 to 10 times. If he does that and gets 5 or 6 yards a clip, and he should. If he runs for 60 yards, I think that's a win for the Titans. He's got to run for 60 yards. Sorry. And I watched him in Miami. I know Ryan Tannehill's game is like. He's effective when he can run and pass because the run ladders him up and it calms him down and the offense flows because he's in the entire game. He's doing everything. And I think that kind of Ryan Tannehill is dangerous.
Oh, I hear you. I understand. But one thing I did mention as well, he make a few plays himself, is Deontay Foreman. I think he definitely has equipped himself pretty well.
Oh, he's done a great job. He's done a great job.
Definitely. He's not Derrick Henry. No. I definitely understand that.
But there's a reason why he's bounced around and not Derrick Henry.
Yeah, definitely. That's true. But I'll say also one thing that was shown a lot in the last game is Julio Jones kind of got a little bit of lather, got a little rhythm with Ryan Tannehill. So that's possibly something to watch as well.
Well, the problem is that he hadn't practiced much because he's always done practice. Like as a Saints fan watching the Falcons, he hardly practiced because he was always hurt. So how can you get chemistry? Look, he already had chemistry with Matt Ryan, so he didn't have to practice. But he barely knows Ryan Tannehill. It's his first year with him. So it takes time to build that rapport, just like the rapport Tannehill has with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown can miss 4 or 5 games, and he can come back the first game. They'd be like, okay, this is nothing because we have chemistry.
Right.
And Julio and him don't have that chemistry. That's why I go back to Burrow and Jamar Chase being in college and what they did in college. It was critical for them with a young quarterback. And same thing with Ryan Tannehill and Julio Jones. They don't have that chemistry yet. So if he's on the practice field, getting more reps with Tannehill on the field, that'll benefit the Titans. He has to be on the field. Yeah,
I understand. Definitely. So since you have the Bengals going forward, do they face Buffalo or do they face Kansas City?
I think Kansas City's figured it out for themselves. I think Kansas City's going to do it. I think early in the season, I think the biggest thing opponents have done now during the season, and they've learned of the season, opponents were forcing Patrick Mahomes and offense to be patient. And they weren't being patient. They were being sloppy with the ball, taking too many chances. And the last 2 months of the season, almost 2.5 months of the season, the offense has learned to be more patient. You watch Mahomes be a little more disciplined. And then by being disciplined and displaying to the league that they are willing to be disciplined and more patient, that really opens up for the big plays coming back now. Because now defense is like, okay, what are we going to do? Because now they're dinking and dunking. They're running the ball. They're mixing the pass and the run a little bit better. They're getting the ball, the last couple of weeks, the other receivers are doing this. Pringle doing stuff. Hartman's doing stuff. Hill's doing okay. But, like, Pringle's making big plays now. And that's dangerous. And Hartman's making plays. If those two guys are making plays and you still got Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, it's hard. The Bills have a good defense, but it looked great because they went against Mac Jones last week. Mac Jones, and it's night and day with Patrick Mahomes. So it's gonna be interesting. I love Josh Allen. He's a great quarterback. That's the type of quarterback I want. Big, strong arm, and can run and put licks on defenders when he runs the ball. So I'm a big Josh Allen fan. I just think that the Chiefs are hitting it on all cylinders right now, and it's gonna be a shootout. But the Chiefs defense have really stepped up the last 2.5 months too, really adjusting and refiguring things out. So I see the Chiefs winning that game. So
gotcha. Okay. So I'm gonna flip to the other side. We're gonna go a little NFC. We've got the Niners and we've got the Rams and Tampa Bay. So with that game, with those games, I should say, who do you see meeting in the NFC Championship game?
You know what? I need to see the condition of if Fred Warner can play for the 49ers.
He's been practicing, actually.
He's been practicing. I think he's going to play then. And I know Bosa's going to play.
Bosa's probably going to be cleared, yeah.
People forget a few years ago what the Niners did to the Packers physically. Now, I know the Packers got their best offensive lineman, Bacchus back. They're a physical team too. But the Niners are a different physical team. I see the Niners going up there and being bully balls. As long as if Jimmy Garoppolo does not get in the way of all that, the Niners can beat the Packers. And I'm going to Niners because of that physicality. You saw what they did to the Rams last week? The physicality on both sides of the ball is just, Shanahan has taken the run game better than his dad in ways how he schemed the run game, the power run game, and with Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell and it's just it's a very powerful team, and I think that Packers should win at home. But I'm a guy who believes in the trenches, and I believe that the Niners' offensive and defensive lines are too physical. They're very physical, and if Jimmy G doesn't get in their way, they'll win the game. That's my caveat. I think physically the Niners will whip the Packers. But if Garoppolo makes a couple of mistakes and gives the Packers a short field, Aaron Rodgers will take advantage of it. So that's going to be the game won or loss. What is Jimmy Garoppolo going to do? And for the other game, the Buccaneers and the Rams, I don't trust Matt Stafford, but the Buccaneers are also beat up too. And it's gonna be an interesting battle. But the front four can get to Tom Brady. If they look at what the Saints front four did to Tom Brady, and we don't know what Tristan Wirfs if he's going to play. The best tackle for the Bucs sprained his ankle badly against the Eagles last week. Will he play? So that's going to be a critical thing looking at that game. But I see Tom Brady. You can never count on Tom Brady. I never bet against Tom Brady, so I'm going with Tom Brady. I'm going with the Bucs.
So we got the Bucs and the 49ers on one side, and you have the Bengals and the Chiefs on the opposite side. And I might as well ask, man, who you got for the Super Bowl, man?
It's gonna be the Chiefs will make it. The Chiefs experience against them in that big pressure situation. They'll get back to the championship, and it'll be a third straight trip to the Super Bowl. And I'm gonna go with the Niners. I'm going with the physicality. I'm going with the physical team. I'm going with Kyle Shanahan and how he's able to scheme his offense up, and the Buccaneers just doesn't have enough firepower on the outside. Just depend on Mike Evans. They got probably. I'm sure Tom Brady right now is practicing with those other receivers on his team right now because he's got to get in sync with them because there's no Godwin, and who knows what's going to happen if Leonard Fournette shows up because he's been injured. Ronald Jones is injured, so. Antonio Brown. You have no Antonio Brown. You have no Godwin. You have, so it's like basically Tom Brady's readjusting his offense in the playoffs. So I think the Niners having a good enough defense to handle that, and their front four will cause a lot of havoc on Tom Brady, especially if Tristan Wirfs is not healthy. That's gonna be critical. I mean, Tom Brady needs protection. So I'm gonna go with the Niners and the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs win a Super Bowl.
Man, it'd be a rematch from a couple years ago.
Yeah,
where the Niners were up.
Yeah, Niners were up.
And then the Chiefs, where cornerback isn't paying attention, and Tyreek Hill catches it, and then it's ball game.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But I want to thank you for coming on the show with me. Can you tell everyone where they can reach you on social media?
Yeah, give me on social.
What's that?
NABJ Prez PREZ 2011. That's my Twitter That's my Twitter handle. So look me up.
Yes,
NABJ Prez PREZ 2011.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you for coming on. You've been watching and listening to Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.
See you guys.